And so, are you still like for Professor Tal introducing?
I want to see who's slightly sensitive. So I'll begin the session by introducing Seda, and you have to tell me what to say for the first two pitches.
Okay.
Okay, so I have Shashidas, SciROI, Umesh Varshan. So he will last. That will be the best for me.
We have more speakers, right?
We have more speakers because Taylor is also going to go in the session. I'm giving her a
Personal prize
personal prize.
if I'm able to bring it in.
Whose prize is this?
I think Robin responsible.
Yes, I have it. And let me know he'll be going to session. So I have to make some announcement for the post-operation, which is to get the participants ready. So A will go next, right? So I will tell them to create that. Is that fine? Okay. After that, yes. I have no idea when it is, but I can send a alert out. Send social. Okay. And I'll be there, so I'm your backup for it. I'm there to stress you out. Yes. I will in containment. I was hoping we will figure this out, but I don't know the time. Like, I don't think a person who's handling the time. Okay, cool. Okay. Yes. I mean, just some basic questions.
Okay. Yeah, so I just want to be able to pull that up.
Okay, but I would like it to be safe and
Sure.
Where are those things?
I didn't save them.
What will I say? So, but I got it. So I know what has to be done.
Okay.
I use presentation.
Are you done?
I will take this time. Should I'll leave it to you, so you get it.
We are working on something else.
I was saving the slides for this session.
Are you ready, Aisha? Are you ready? Shall I ask you?
Kela, we are ready.
Where is Kela?
Kela is.
Yes, it's science pen drive. It seems important. Please. I will.
You can.
Yes,
I will
I
copy now.
will. That's what I'll do.
Are you ready?
Shine, you have a pen.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Nice to meet you. Is showing us lectures?
No,
You said you wanted to do the presentation.
It's me and
Sure.
Is the new place? This is the main thing.
no, this is all not the same. So we do education in India without spending taxpayers' money.
Sorry, you must have waited.
Okay, okay, well, you get technical session.
It's not. Oh, you have to give it to
Yeah, this is slides of so Keva is going to go first. And I want to make an announcement which was part of section A. Group A. Okay, so the group A participants will be ready. And then let us slowly go to that. So then, thank you so much.
But I wish I will ready.
I just wanted to know what I have to tell the most participants. I'm going to
I
tell
can tell you.
them.
Or we are going to tell them. Yeah, shout.
I'm going to tell them to assemble. They go right after.
We don't have to go, right? Yeah. I told people, but no one really cared.
You could take care of that.
Sitting in the back.
It's better.
My bags are there. Get my bag.
Is it sitting here? No, I think I don't remember how I know you.
I just remember.
Did I see it at Ashwin's party?
Not in body, I was in the proxy in front of LSI building.
Or Mrinal, I don't know.
Maybe.
But like your face, I don't know how.
I somehow recognize the name. Some nature
Where were you for? How's the name?
Getting a bit of money which is good.
Retired because it's the birthday.
I mean,
If you retire, then this is like.
yeah, that's what we want to here. If we get this next 5 years.
When we go into different places.
We had different technologies. Yeah. Yes, in India, I mean,
Department of Chemistry. Software, no, I understand.
there if you are doing SciROI
Post. I think I keep you.
just remember talking to you when you were some kind of.
I don't remember it like this, remember face. Not like that. Sometimes now I'm forgetting faces also.
Talking about your book and all
Either AHA or LS, I can So you're trying to move to Europe?
most of them, yeah, still kind of.
Okay. So you're switching So what's your house for the first?
I mean, that's the way for some places. The idea. I actually saw the stuff that I was doing, but I keep going there.
But next
You are happy to help. Okay, we're ready to begin the session now. Please settle down. I just want to point out a few housekeeping rules. No food is allowed in the auditorium. So, that's why I specified about food only. I thought about it for you.
Mostly teaching.
Food which you will bite is not allowed. So we're going to begin the next session now. But before that, we have one speaker from the previous session, and I'm going to introduce her. But I think I have one more answer. So we also have the poster pitches session for Group A after this academic session. So I just want you to be aware that you have the 1 minute poster pitch. I think all the participants are aware we have your slides here. You will have exactly 1 minute, after which we will change the slides. So I hope you all have practiced well to give your elevator pitches. We'll have a very loud alarm that will go on, and we'll just change the slides. So when I will make an announcement towards the end of the next session for you to be ready to go into the other room where we are also casting the events so that we can proceed with the poster pitches in a uniform manner. So it takes me great pleasure to introduce to you. There are a lot of computers here. It's great pleasure for me to introduce Kayla Newman. So Kayla is going to be representing the Fulbright program. So Fulbright, as you all would be familiar with, is one of the United States' most prestigious cultural exchange programs. Over the years, Fulbright has facilitated knowledge and skill exchange between India and the US through several well-known fellowships. So Kayla is a Fulbright scholar who is a graduate student at the University of Wisconsin in Madison and has completed a Fulbright Nehru Fellowship at CMC Vellore. We're very excited to hear about Kayla's experiences. Please join us in welcoming her.
All right, well, thank you so much for that introduction. Good morning, everyone. I just want to start off by saying some thank yous to the committee for asking me to speak today. I am just freshly back from India. About a month ago, I arrived back, and I am so honored to already begin to share my experiences while I was abroad. So particularly as Senior Media, who have supported me for a long time and have supported countless other students in their interest for global partnership and research. So I just want to start off by acknowledging those things. But this is my first time here at SciROI, so I'm really excited to be joining all of you today and also honored to be speaking in front of you. So a little bit about myself. As mentioned, I graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison with biomedical engineering. But more recently, I completed a Fulbright Fellowship to CUC Vellore in Tamil Nadu, India. While I would love to expand upon that project in particular, I'll save that for the poster pitch this afternoon. You can come visit my poster this afternoon as well. I would love to expand in more detail, specifically what I did there, but what I've been asked to do this morning instead is to present to you a little bit more of an in-depth understanding of what Fulbright is and what kind of opportunities are available for either U.S. citizen students here looking to go to India, or perhaps Indian students looking to come here to the United States to engage with academic institutions, think tanks, that kind of thing. So I'd just like to begin by asking a question and just maybe clearing up any ambiguity that you might have about what the Fulbright Nehru program is. You'll see Nehru as the second word in the title of the program, which indicates that in fact back in 2009, the Indian government acknowledged how productive and how valuable the Fulbright program was being in India, such that they match dollar for dollar now as a joint program to fund students going over to India. So what is it? It's a cultural exchange program jointly funded by the U.S. and Indian governments, so the Department of State in the U.S. and USIDF, U.S. Indian Education Foundation, that offer scholarships or grants to study, conduct research, teach, or encourage students and scholars, teachers, professionals, scientists, and artists to travel abroad. So from the U.S. to go most other countries in the world. Today I'll be highlighting India for obvious reasons. But a little bit more just about some of the mechanics of it. If you want to be applying to go, the application is always due in September to go the following year. So that's a pretty big kind of time between when you're actually going to be going and when you would begin to apply. A lot of people are a little bit taken aback by that. But yeah, due in a week is for beginning in August 2020 for that year. And I'll touch on a couple of the different opportunities available, but for the students in particular, you begin in August and you go for 9 months. Those are for anyone that just graduated undergrad. But if you're pursuing something more like a master's or a PhD, you want some funded research time, there's a little bit more flexibility there where you can begin. So, and why was it created? Well, it was created back in the 1940s by J. William Fulbright, a U.S. senator, with this vision of improving the U.S.'s intercultural relations, cultural diplomacy, intercultural understanding. Those are basically a bunch of fancy words for what Fulbright's mission is. And their motto is the sharing of ideas. And you can cast it into whatever idea you have and how that might apply to you. But Fulbright is so broad that it funds violinists all the way to transcribers. Some people in India, they were transcribing some texts up in Delhi with some Buddhist monks. I was doing biomedical research. People were studying dance. So it's not just science and the hardcore STEM, but they also like to broaden their horizons and really encourage a broader sharing of ideas. So types of awards, let's get into some specifics. The student grants are defined as anyone who has yet to finish their PhD. In between the time that you graduate from college on your undergrad until your PhD. At that point, once you've reached your PhD, you are going to progress more into the scholar and professional grants, or if you're an educator or teacher, you may apply for teaching grants. So the student grant is the one that I did. So it's called the U.S. Fulbright Nehru program, which specifically goes to India. They're fellowships for graduating college seniors, graduate students, young professionals, and artists. And it's funding you for one academic year to go and pursue research, or study or teach English abroad. So in my city, Vellore, there were actually 2 English teaching assistants, about 25 casts all over India that are just teaching English. So that's, a lot of people don't know that Fulbright also funds that kind of work as well. For the scholar professional grants, there's a couple different ones available. So they all revolve around this idea that you're going to go to an academic institution, you're going to be a visiting lecturer, you may be doing lecturing as well as research, and it can be flexible, anywhere from 3 to 12 months, or under the U.S. Scholar Program, you would be for up to a year that you can be there as well. And then a little bit more of a short-term opportunity, 2 to 6 weeks, same kind of credentials. You can go there for an exposure to help develop curriculum, engage in faculty development, institutional planning, and that kind of stuff. And if you're a teacher and looking to do some abroad experience, there's exchange programs one-to-one where you have a teacher from a school in India come to where you're teaching, and you can go to that K-12 school or some post-secondary institutions. And then also some distinguished Fulbright awards and teaching programs, so it sends teachers abroad to pursue individual projects. So for instance, I knew someone that went specifically to India to work on special education or special needs students because they found that there was a large gap and a large need in India to address helping those students be able to excel in their classrooms as well. So what makes a good application? This is my opinion. This isn't listed anywhere on the Fulbright website, but after talking with some scholars and doing some self-reflection in terms of what my own personal application looked like, I thought I could share these points with you if either you're looking to apply for Fulbright or want to encourage some students that you mentor in applying for Fulbright. So we kind of established these 3 pillars on which we think a very well-founded Fulbright application will sit. The first one is you want to convince the Fulbright committee of the relevance of your project, just like any other application. So what is it? Why is your project important? Specifically, why should the U.S. and or your host country care about your project? Have it deeply seated in either the country's history or a relevant international topic. You want to really give a deep understanding and exercise and establish your knowledge of the project that you're doing. Secondly, you need to give relevance to the location. So why is it that you have to go to that country? If you're studying the Zika virus, why do you have to go to Brazil to study that? Why can't you just get some strains sent to you and do it in your own laboratory? Is it that there's a certain professor that you want to collaborate with? Is there an event that's going to happen in that country that you want to attend? Maybe there's some archives that you want to have direct access to, or an institution that you want to either study at or be a part of a lab. So you need to give relevance. Why do they need to fly you all the way over there and pay for you to live in that country rather than just have an international collaboration? And last but not least, why you? Why should you be sent? It might be all well and great, your project's very relevant, it needs to be done in that country, but you need to explain to them why you have the necessary credentials and that qualifies you to do this work. So I'm going to expand upon a little bit more the details of the application. But for instance, for me, I talked about the fact that I first was an SMO scholar in 2016. The summer after my junior year in college, I traveled to the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore, and that's where I picked up my project that became my Fulbright work. And so for me, I strategically chose my letters of recommendation to be from my Indian mentor, from other collaborators at the University of Wisconsin-Madison that could really paint this picture of why I uniquely was qualified to operate in this environment in India doing this work. And then in addition, how do you plan to engage with your community? So I have a couple extra slides that I pulled up during the break that I thought could help to convey this point. So before I explain this, Fulbright is all about, like I had said, the sharing of ideas. And they're not narrow-minded in terms of what academic or what research ideas are we going to be exchanging, but instead they really see it as this cultural exchange, like I had previously mentioned. So in your application, they actually encourage you, they want to know in what ways are you going to engage with your community outside of your work. And so specifically in my application, I talked about my love of ultimate frisbee. And during my first visit to India, in Bangalore at IASC. I found a team on the very first day. They were a brand new team, like less than a year old. And Ultimate Frisbee, from my hometown, Madison, Wisconsin, is a huge community. It's very social, a lot's going on. It's been around in the US for almost 40 years. In India, it's a brand new sport, less than 10 years old. And actually, this past fall was the first national tournament that India held, which I got to be a part of. And so in my application, I said, if I show up to Vellore, there's no team, I'm going to build one, and I'm going to engage and get people using sports to build a sense of community. And so these are just two pictures from that national tournament that I mentioned. So the first round of it was in September, and we had tournaments every weekend, almost every other weekend or so until February. So these are just two of the pictures. In Chennai was the sectional tournament. There were about 16 top teams from South India. And then the championship round of the tournament, which my team progressed to, was in Ahmedabad in India. And while playing at that national level, I got to meet a lot of other players at the national level that I became friends with and actually ended up meeting up with later on. So I got asked if I would play for Team India at a tournament in Amsterdam. So this June, I flew to Amsterdam and I met, our team name was called Masala Chai, and we were a mix of players from all over India, you know, masala being a mix of spices, a mix of something. So we were from north, south, east, west. We had people from Assam and Nagaland, and we had people from Delhi and Goa and all over the place. And so we had a couple of practice sessions together. We went to Pondicherry and we were in Oroville. We had fun that weekend, and Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad. I mean, I went all over India in pursuit of this hobby that I have. And so Fulbright loved that. They wanted pictures, they wanted to hear, they wanted to know how my team was doing. And so find something that you feel you can convey in your application that you're passionate about here at home, but that you feel like if you can find that community in India and build that up, it's going to add this whole other arm, this whole other element, another sharing of ideas that Fulbright loves to hear. And another thing that I mentioned in my application was wanting to share my story. So I created a YouTube blog called Banana Blog, and the reason for that is my name is Kayla. For those of you, if any of you don't speak Hindi, Kayla's banana. So that joke didn't quite work in Vellore because people primarily speak Tamil there, so I had to explain the joke a bit more. But Banana Blog is where I would share on a weekly or semi-weekly basis just what was going on. So that top one that I have there listed is just an update about my Frisbee team and what I'm doing there. And then my first one was that I was only paying 4,500 rupees for my room, you know, in comparison to Madison where I'm paying, you know, $400 or $500 for my room a month. And then just other things I did, going to a Hindu wedding. Pictured in that little thumbnail down there is my friend Hannah Leiter, who's also a SciROI scholar the previous year to me. She's also on Fulbright, still there, wrapping up some work at Barefoot College up in Rajasthan, the little town of Pilonia between Ajmer and Jaipur. So these kinds of things are what add depth to your application. Think of something that you're passionate about here at home, and talk about how you're going to engage your community while abroad. So how do I apply? Well, you're going to apply one academic year prior to when you would like to go. And then some attributes of that application are, first of all, a personal statement. So Fulbright just wants to get a look at who you are, what you do. My personal statement was largely revolving around talking about my previous time in India, in particular how I had learned about this word Jugad while I was in India, and how I had felt from a little girl. I had just always used Jugad in my fundamental problem solving, and here I show up to India and it's everywhere. It's on the street. It's in where we problem solve in our teams, and that I just felt like I resonated with the Indian culture on a very fundamental level when using Jugad. And then the grant proposal for research scholars is 2 pages long. They want to understand how you're planning to use your time, your funds, and again, highlight those things I had mentioned about why is your project relevant? Why do you need to go there, and why you? I kind of broke my grant proposal up into those 3 ideas and really tried to hammer those things home because time and time again that proved to be very successful. And then 3 letters of recommendation. Those are really crucial. Try to find, if your project is multidisciplinary, get someone from each of the different departments where you're working or who you're going to work with, from India, from the US, wherever it is. And then you also have these cultural engagement essays that I had mentioned, so really highlight some unique things. You know, Frisbee is about the most non-academic thing I could have brought up for wanting to do. I also brought up that I wanted to learn Tamil, but those are things that other people might say. So really you can give your application a lot of power if you mention some things that are very unique to you. So just some mechanics of how you can look into some of these opportunities. This is one website, USIEF's website, where you can go, and then just down below you can click on Fulbright Fellowships. They've got a lot of other programs, but that's where you go for your Fulbright opportunities. And then also, if you're not a student, but you're looking to be more on the scholar professional side of things, USIEF's, okay. Oh yeah, so once you click on this, once you click on the Fulbright Fellowships, you're going to be brought to this page. In the left-hand column is then where you can choose either, are you an Indian citizen looking to come to the US, or are you a US citizen looking to go to India? And there's a whole myriad of different opportunities there. I just touched on a few, but you can get all the details in terms of eligibility, duration, and that kind of thing by following those links. If you're more at the scholar level, so you've got your PhD, your teaching faculty, or whatever you're doing, this is the website you want to be going to, and clicking down below, Explore US Scholar Program. So yeah, that's all I have for you. I heard that we're going to do it in panel format, so I won't take questions now, but like I said, please come find me if you have any further questions. I would love to go over Fulbright applications or read through essays. I've done that a lot, and it's always been a lot of fun for me to try to keep on moving back and encouraging other people to go. So my poster's B5. I'll be doing a pitch for it later, so come say hi, and we can talk about whatever it is that you want. So thank you.
My name is Pumpa Sharikon, and I am a postdoc in Indiana University, Bloomington, and I am a part of the SciROI team from this year and very excited about the event. So now we are going to start our academic session 1. So in this session we have professors representing individual research and education institutes. The goal of this session is to provide a glimpse of the environment and research infrastructure at these institutes. We hope to gain insight about what they are looking for in prospective hires and job opportunities that exist in these institutes. And I'm sorry, we will be showing you time before as we move towards 10 minutes of your talk. So we first invite Professor SciROI Pal on stage. Professor Pal has been fundamental contributions in the field of computation and quantum chemistry, and is the director of ISER Kolkata. He is also a professor in the Department of Chemistry at Bombay, and ISER Kolkata was established in 2006 and offers training for undergraduates, doctoral as well as postdoctoral scholars by providing opportunities in integrated teaching and learning of sciences. So,
in the late good afternoon, probably this afternoon, right? Just about. Yeah, I think a lot has been talked, and Pumpa has already told what is ISER Kolkata. So I don't have to go through the slides. You already know that it is for undergraduate studies and research. The important thing is that it was established in 2006. So when you see that in comparison to the University of Chicago and many, even IISc Bangalore, it's really very, very young. ISAs are all very young institutions. In fact, just before I came here, I was at a place called Krakow, University of Agilonian. Jagiellonian. That was established in 1364. So you can imagine, it's one of the oldest universities in Europe. Probably in the Central Europe it is the oldest. So you can imagine what we are talking about. The very comparison of universities is very difficult. I am also at IIT Bombay. In fact, my main position is still at IIT Bombay. I may remind people. I'm actually on deputation from IIT Bombay. So I said Kolkata on a contractual job, to be honest. And so IIT Bombay can call me back anytime. So IIT Bombay is of course much more established institution. It has crossed the Diamond Jubilee just recently. So I will not talk much about IIT Bombay, but those who are interested, I can discuss the job opportunities and all that, but that's very well established institution. I'm also currently visiting Professor at Ashoka University. I will speak to you about that. It's a private university. I'm trying to set up chemistry there. It was not there. That's the reason. And I'm also distinguished visiting Professor at IIT Kharagpur. Again, I will not speak much about IIT Kharagpur because it's a very well-known university. And you will see, and of course I was involved with National Chemical Lab Pune. I will speak a little bit about that because unfortunately nobody is representing CSIR. And I think Sashi and me and probably the two people who are working CSIR, there may be one or two people that I can't immediately spot them. So I have to speak a little bit about CSIR. So this is the three cities that I mainly lived. So Pune on the right, Mumbai to Kolkata. So I think, as you can see, they are big cities, but they are all very different. So when you choose cities where to go, you will see that every city has its own profile. My own association I already told, but I also want to mention that I'm adjunct professor at IIT Pune and IIT Goa. So in a way, I'm involved in several institutions, and I'm seeing the picture from a very holistic manner. So I'm not only talk short about what I said that I can do, because this is not a forum to do that. What is important is what are the opportunities you have in India. So I think I'm going to request the organizers to change the forum. You know, the way the people talk, the directors come and speak only about their institution. Probably that's not the idea of such. If you have experience of what India can offer, is all that you should say. And the choice is yours eventually. Alright, so let me start with IISER Kolkata very quickly. I spoke about IISER Kolkata last year as well, but I just want to mention that this is one of the 7 IISERs in the country, and I think I've given them the year in which each of them started. The last is Tirupati and Dharapur, 2015 and 16. And in general, I will not compare between the IISERs, but all the IISERs are doing reasonably well. They're getting ranked more or less within the top 50 or top 60 by the NIRM national ranking. And I think there is a lot of scope that these IISERs will eventually do even better. Pune and Kolkata being the earliest have been the 2 topmost IISERs in terms of ranking, if you look at an overall picture. So this is just the IISER Kolkata campus, because many people may not know, many people may not have visited IISER Kolkata. It is actually not in Kolkata. Let me also state that. Right in the beginning, it is called IISER Kolkata, but it is not in Kolkata in a true sense. And it also depends on how we define Kolkata, of course. it is in a place called Mohanpur, in a Harimghata farm dairy, which is pretty close to a reasonably well-known town called Kalyani. I think Kalyani, there is NIBMG director, who is also here. So I think Kalyani is a reasonably well-known place. So we are pretty close to that. So we have a lot of challenges when we started. I think there are other IISERs who will also speak. Dharapur, I don't know how many challenges they have. But I'm sure we have challenges, but we have got over it. We now have a fully, reasonably built campus in the first phase. But the important thing is that we have a land of 201 acres. That is not very easy to get. We would never have got it in Kolkata. That's for sure. That is one of the reasons I think the first director decided to go out to slightly away. And from the Calcutta airport, those who are interested, it takes about, depending on the traffic, it takes about 1 hour, 10 minutes, sometimes 1 hour to 1.5 hours. So depending on the traffic. So it's not a whole lot distant. That's all I can say. I mean, in Chicago also I take the airport to the university 1.5 hours. So I think 1.5 hours is not so bad. As I said, we had been ranked well. Our highest rank was in 2018, 25th, but we have been consistently high in our ranking. So our faculties, just very quickly, I will show our faculties have recognized themselves. Many of them, at least a few of them, are JC fellows, Bhatnagar awardees. There are fellows of the academies, Dilsa Young Scientist Award, and I'm not even talking about the higher ones because they are people who are actually distinguished somewhere else and have come. But there are middle level people who are also beginning to establish themselves. We had top publications among all the ICERs. I think our total number of publications is 2,765. I'm curious to know if Pune has more than this right now. It is always the Pune and Kolkata which kind of compete in the number of publications. This is again for the 13-year data. So of course you should not divide by 13 and get the per year because we had very less in the beginning, and I will show you how it has grown. Our total research funds is about 150 crore rupees that we have generated, and I think there is a lot of scope where we can improve. And we have published in several good journals, as I've just listed them. So our profile is very strong. We have currently 5 departments which offer BSMS. So those who are interested in getting jobs, there are 5 departments. In particular, the physics, chemistry, biology, art science, and mathematics. And then there are lots of interdisciplinary areas in which we have centers, which I put out: material science, nonlinear phenomena, optics. The 2 very important announcement: the 2 new departments we have started, computer science and humanities. So we are just hiring computer science faculty, a couple of them. So those who are interested can apply. So they will actually have to integrate, teach the core courses as well as a minor course of data science that we are introducing. A lot of talk of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So we are introducing a data science as a minor and probably a major eventually, so that will come under BSMS actually. So we are also looking at a couple of humanities faculties. So those who can connect us will be very happy. We have, as I said, Center for Excellence. And we are looking for another new center which will be actually very unique. I can tell you, computational mineralogy. It's very new. It's art science, basically how minerals have evolved over a period of time using computation. So we are actually likely to start a center there. These are some of the research areas that I will not list them: biology, chemistry, art science, mathematics, statistics, physical sciences. So those who actually fulfill any one of them can come in. We always encourage excellent people in any area. So it's not that we have a trust area in which we are going to hire. So that is very important to realize. And there are lots of interesting projects that we have done for societal. We have R&D, industrial R&D. We have also got a very importantly an incubation center from the DST Nidhi scheme. So I hope things will move forward, so that those who are entrepreneurs can also be with the startups. We are very active in our outreach activities, as you can see, and so on. So these are the faculty opportunities. So first of all, we recruit at all levels from assistant to full professor. They are based usually on outstanding series, performance, and of course follow the MHRD guidelines. As students tend to increase, we will continue to have more vacancies. So the whole idea is a 1:10 philosophy, faculty to student. So we will recruit outstanding candidates. So there is no worry about immediately filling up everything. There will be always some vacancies which will be available. So we are also looking at international outreach to attract foreign and NRI faculty. As many of you may know, the government has also got rules now by which we can actually have NRI and foreign faculties for to the institutes. We are of course facilitating women faculty recruitment without saying much about it. I just want to say this is a very sensitive issue, but we are very, very concerned about the gender sensitivity. And we are also looking at international students. In fact, our first international students have just arrived this semester, I must say, for PhD program. So this is through a study in India program of MHRD. So the first time we have got international students from Africa as well as from Bangladesh. So I believe that will help us to generate a good amount of international students. So as I said, we have a Section 8 company for incubation, which is RISE Foundation ICER, which is called RISE Foundation ICER. Alright, so I think we will close about ICER Kolkata with this. because so this is the data that I just have. You don't have to, those who are interested, I can tell you all the data, total number of projects, and just basic data is this number of publications and external funding. Total number of faculty till now 119, but we are very aggressively recruiting. By the end of this month, we'll probably reach 130, 132. So you can see that we still have enough scope to grow. All right, so this is the number of digital publications, the way it has grown. As you can see, we started from 2 publications in 2006 to 382 last year. This year till 21st August is 262. So if you look at the faculty strength, it is easily above 3. So 3.5 publications per year per faculty. If you want to have adjustment, good number. All right, so this is the total fund, how we have moved. And I'll just skip this. This is the number of students that we have. So I just wanted to give a quick breakdown of the number of students in males and females. So total number is about 1,484 students, including PhD and PSL. Just a minute. 10 minutes is really unfair. When I've been involved in 10 institutions. Actually more than 10 institutions. In fact, I'm very much attached to CSIR. Unfortunately, CSIR has attracted a very bad name. But I have, as a recruiter, not a bad name for doing job, for doing research. In fact, this is a general scenario of Indian R&D. CSIR comes here, DSIR, there are people who talk about DST, DPT, and so on. So CSIR is all over India, actually. It's one of the very major recruiters in the country. Somehow I think they have forgotten that. And I'm very unhappy about it, to be honest. And that CSIR is forgotten today. I started my life in CSIR, 1982 December, and I retired in 2015 June. I did not leave CSIR. I retired as a director, and I did everything from Pune. And it was possible to do, and that is very, very important. So I will not worry about CSIR much, except to say that started from 1941, it's very old, the council, and NCL was opened in 1950 January. See, it's very important to realize when NCL opened, how important it was. Look at our foundation day, who were there? There were 6 Nobel laureates in a place in Pune in 1950. I hope you realize the significance of it. I don't think any laboratory today, when it is inaugurated, will have galaxy of such people. It's amazing actually. That's the reason I feel very proud to be associated with NCL. I mean, I'm not saying I'm more proud than being associated with ISA Kolkata, but I'm proud to be associated with NCL. All right, and this was a very important quote. The purpose of the laboratory is to advance knowledge and to apply chemical science for the good of the people. So many of you who are in various areas of chemistry and biology should also consider CSIR as one of you. Since I am now in Ashoka, I will also say that private universities are coming up too. I'm just a kind of very softly attached to them, trying to help them from outside. But it's a very important thing that Ashoka, who started with the liberal arts, is now also moved into science. I just want to announce, in fact, they are also starting chemistry. Prabhu Shashi will talk more about it, but they are starting physics, chemistry, biology. I think Shivassis, who is there as a young faculty, will speak tomorrow. His experience at Ashoka. But it's a very holistic education, very different way that they are looking at. In fact, if you look at Ashoka science faculty, it's amazing. A lot of big people, Sabdasachi, who was at JFR, Sashi is there, Alok Bhattacharya was at JNU. Several big names have moved to Ashoka. I think there's a lot of hope. And I'm pretty sure some of you, again I'm telling you, you always look at only IIT, ISA, NIT, I don't understand why. You must look at whether there's a good opportunity to do science. You don't care. If you ever get good opportunity, you must go. So Ashoka is actually giving a very good offer. Well-equipped labs, very general research funding, and I think like many other private universities, there will be Bits Bilani will also speak, Amity University. So my experience across organizations, that is very important that I want to summarize. That despite difficulties, we are a hub of scientific thinking, human resource, and innovation. Every organization has its own structure. CSIR is different from IIT, different from ISAs and all. But each one offers possibilities for sincere work. And that is very important. Comparison is good, but please, while comparing, avoid distraction and negativity. Again, I'm telling from experience. They will always say, no, CSIR, they get so much salary, so much salary. So the comparison is unfortunately bringing negativity. Please avoid that. Eventually your science will be there. You can be good wherever you are. And I was in Krakow last week. I would end with the motto that the University of Agilonian has: let reason prevail over force. And that is very important. Unfortunately, we are forgetting that in our education system. We are forcing ourselves on the management. The management is forcing their thought on the employees, but we never reason ourselves. Why you want to do something, what you want to do. I will end by saying that after lunch, I think maybe 3 to 4, sometimes now that they will give us, in one of the rooms I want to meet those who want to meet. So I don't really want to actually open up all the CVs. There are many people who want jobs at IIT Goa. They can also talk to me. I'm an adjunct professor at IIT Goa. So wherever you want to go, I will try to help. Though their directors are not authorized to meet me, but I think they will not mind if I meet an advice. So those who want to get, as a Kolkata, of course, there I'm the decision maker. But even in other institutions where I'm involved, I can kind of counsel where to go, how to go. There are many biology people who want to go to IIT Goa. It's not even started biology. Because you have to understand the new IITs have to do baby steps, to do electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, then biology will come. So I think some of this counseling I can give you from my experience across different organizations. So let me just tell you, I have not shortlisted CV. Nobody can give job here. I can tell you, probably private universities may or may not, I am not sure, but no government institution can interview here and give a job. So let's not be under that, because we have a procedure, everybody has to follow the procedure. In fact, at the Diwali I was talking about you coming to Kolkata and we giving you offer. Even that is not very easy. Because it is not a gateway, yes, no. You have to be compared against others. So if you only come, I cannot say you are good for Kolkata, I can say give you a job, there may be a better person, because our vacancies are limited. So unless you have seen a sufficient number of people, and that's the whole idea of an advertisement, you can't have a selection. So many of you may think, oh, I have gone, why don't you have a board and immediately decide? You can't decide. It's not yes or no. It's a comparison. And so I think you have to also understand that. So that is the reason we collect things. Kolkata believes in rolling advertisement. So you can apply any time of the year. We collect half a year all the advertisements and then shortlist. If you are missed in this round, you will be there in the next round. So there is nothing to worry. We also do not expect people to send everything to hard copy on such a way. There is a discussion, so I didn't want to respond that time. Email is good enough. Email is absolutely good enough, only a full CV is required. There is a form that we have created, you can just fill up the form and send by email. And we try to do everything by email. We also entertain Skype people. Let me give that all the comments that they have given. Suddenly entertain Skype interviews. In fact, many times we are selected to the Skype. So I think with this, I will close, and those who want to meet me should come at 3 o'clock. I think the room will be announced by some organizer, where I am going to meet. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Pal. So next we have IISc Bangalore. IISc Bangalore requires no introduction. It is a premier scientific research institute, and we have Professor Umesh Varshini, who is the chairman of the Division of Biological Science at IISc. Dr. Varshini's seminar work is Understanding TB has provided insight about biology of mycobacterium. We are looking forward to hearing the opportunities for young scientists at IISc Bangalore company.
Thank you, and let me thank the entire SciROI organizing committee to give this opportunity to us. And good afternoon, everyone. Saurabh, you made a comment, you are very young. I mean, yeah. But you see, you're giving us a tough time. And you're taking all our younger people, which we are very happy about. But the younger people of ours are giving us much tougher time, and that's why I'm here. So we started in 1909, and this is the first institution that started with partnership from an industrialist, Maharaj of Mysore, and the government of India, that was the British government at that time. The ISC was actually conceived much earlier than 1909. In 1892 it was conceived and started in 1992. The Institute's mandate is really to provide for advanced instruction and to conduct original investigations in all branches of knowledge, and in particular such branches of knowledge that are likely to promote the material and industrial welfare of India. So our mandate is extremely broad, and therefore one doesn't need to worry about what you're going to do in this institute. You just do what you like. These are some of the people who have worked or studied at ISC and made a name for themselves and created an excellence in science and institution building. In fact, this is going to be my first presentation where I'm going to be showing you the slides but not talk about them. I think you all know these names, you all know their contributions to India and science. The Indian Institute of Science has also contributed to a lot of nation-building programs, as are shown over here, and also incubated many of the institutions that are really the top quality institutions in India. Institute itself began with a very, very small beginning with one department that is now IPC, and over the years kept adding more and more departments, and currently we have 42 departments in the institute, 520 faculty, which have both academic and scientific staff, nearly 4,200 students, largely PhD students, about 65% of them are PhD students. We have recently begun the undergraduate program, which is a really very, very sought after program. We admit about 120 students a year, so we have a cohort of about 500 undergraduate students. We are number one in NIRF rankings. The institute has 6 divisions. I will have a little bit more time to talk about that, but the 6 divisions have different number of faculty, and here is the biology, 75, but other divisions are also here. I will have a little more time, next slide to talk about that. We are the oldest institution in this area, and if we try to look at how we are doing in citations, publications in H-index within India, the outermost ring shows you the citations, the middle ring shows you the publications, and the inside one H-index. And I think these names are written very small because I wouldn't want you to read, but ISC is right here, and ISC's portion in each of these rings is the largest one. We have about 48,000 Web of Science documents ever since Web of Science started documenting the publications, and over 700,000 citations. H-index of the institute is about 226, and we publish about 12,000 publications in the last 5 years. We generate about 400 PhD students a year. These are the rankings. Again, I will not read them out, just you can see them. Recently, just last year, we were also awarded the recognition as Institute of Eminence, and that gives us the advantage of using some money, extra money from the government to get the freedom of the academic programs and start doing whatever we would like to do, how we want to advance the institute further, bring it into a modern era. All that is allowed by this Institute of Eminence program. The faculty are well recognized in different kind of awards. You can see here the civilian awards, Bhatnagar awards, Swarnayanti fellowships, J.C. Bose National Fellowships, and Praveen was talking about that, and that's really over there. A lot of fellowships of the academies, and of course many of the international awards that you can see over there are all there at the institute. The budget of the institute, which gives you an indication of how we are doing research, is shown over here, and this slide has not come out well at all. But in our 2016-17, we spent nearly 800 crores of rupees, out of which 400 plus came from the direct funding from MHRD, and the equal money was raised from other sources. Likewise, for 2017 and 18, nearly 500 crores was granted directly to us by the government, and The remaining 500 crores was raised by other means. So the institute receives substantial funding. We also raise substantial funding to carry out our research. The institute has also acquired a new campus of 1,500 acres, which is about 200 kilometers north. And what this really does is we have actually just now completed the boundary wall of this campus, also put up a gate. And it used to be that our old campus had the campus but no gate, and this campus has the gate but no campus. The advantage of this campus really is that we can start large programs that require a lot of land, and such are the programs are over listed here, and these programs are really going on. One of the very interesting programs that is going on here is a skill development program, where we call the teachers from the high school and other kind of places in Karnataka, and more recently from other states of the country, and teach them. We hold practical classes from them, and this has made a huge difference. If you now look at the performance of the students of the colleges whose teachers we have trained, that performance is really skyward, and the students are really performing very well. So this is, I think, something that you would be interested in. There is actually equal emphasis both on science and engineering. Culture of doing fundamental investigations, and IISc has really nurtured curiosity-driven research in all areas, independence to pursue individual research goals. We're driving interdisciplinary research, as you can see over there. I already mentioned you that 65% of our students are PhD students, and best practices in faculty recruitment, and that does not involve on-spot interviews to hire faculty. We can hire technical support by doing on-spot interviews, but not hire faculty who are going to be with us for at least 35 years, 40 years. So we have high expectations from the faculty, and we brought in a tenure system. And when we bring in a tenure system, we also ensure that the person who is joining institute gets going working immediately. And that means that we also give high value startup grants. In fact, we give whatever you would ask, and you will get it. There are funds for international travel, interdisciplinary PhD programs, all sorts of things, and there are actually programs which allow you to get extra salary over and above what the government gives. These are young investigative programs and endowed chairs which give you substantial amount of funds. There are interdisciplinary programs, as are listed over there: cancer research, brain computation, data science, cyber security, and so on. There are a lot of nation capacity building programs that are going on and which are arising from the research that are done at the institute. Number of patents, startup companies, they're all shown up there. Again, there are different companies that have been started by the research done by the faculty at the institute. These are some of the ones which have been started in recent years. Now, very quickly, biology at institute, because I noticed that a large number of you are biologists here, and the institute has, as I said, 6 divisions. One of these divisions is biological sciences, and biological sciences has 6 departments and 2 central facilities, which are all shown over here. Many of you know about them. Biological sciences graduates about 60 PhDs every year. Biological sciences also interacts with other centers that are, for example, interdisciplinary research area, CSSC, Center for Neuroscience, SENSE, also there is a MET initiative within biology, and Center for Brain Research. This is actually a new activity that has been begun with the efforts of Christo Publishman, and they have actually given us nearly 225 crores over 5-year period to begin this activity. There are a lot of facilities that you would want to have at the institute to do your research. The areas of research are all listed over there. Pretty much all the areas are covered that are of interest to you. I'm going to skip these slides. There is research that is going on disease biology, different kind of disease biology, which is infectious, non-infectious, There are cell, tissue, and organ architecture. I don't have much time to go through these. Networks, development, and behavior, aging and degeneration, biomolecular structure function, and the ecological sciences. That is really a very, very top-class ecological work that we do. A lot of the things from ecology come, and we are actually inspired for a lot of mini bioengineering projects. These are the kind of funding that the departments raise, and this funding actually does not include the funding that ISC provides to the departments or that we gain from the DBT ISC programs. The funding sources are all listed over here. And these are the publications that the biological sciences alone generates. So in the last 5 years, we have published about 1,320 papers in all of the departments. 54 book publications. PhDs awarded over the last 5 years is 309, and we have international collaboration all over the world. These are some of the recognitions that have been given to the faculty in biological sciences. And I wouldn't have time for this, but this is the way how we select the faculty, and I think Ananda will realize why it takes time to hire the faculty. Okay, I think I'll stop.
We now welcome Professor Rana Prasad Singh. He is a cancer biologist. His lab studies the biology of natural compounds inhibiting tumor angiogenesis. Professor Singh is the pro-vice chancellor at JNU in New Delhi.
Thank you, SciROI team and Professor Ansari for giving this opportunity to represent JNU over here. So there was a talk about young and old, and there is a message over here on the first slide. So I'll just quickly go through some of the slides. I have been given around 7-8 minutes. So we all know about the growth of higher education in India and how things are moving in terms of universities, colleges, enrollment as well as teaching staff. So it's a phenomenal growth. In terms of teaching faculty also, if you see the number is increasing rapidly. There is a talk about different institutions. We already know about these. My focus is going to be here on the universities. And there are almost 47 central universities, state universities 399, deemed to universities, and then private universities. So how things are there in the central universities? If you look at the vacancies, it was announced in 2017. So there were almost 17,000 positions which were vacant. Right now, what is the condition? Still 35% positions are not filled, and all the central universities, they have advertised these positions, and they are in the process of filling these positions. Maybe in the form of mostly permanent faculties. If we talk about the central universities, we have already heard about other forms of engagement in different universities. We also know about how the regular faculty positions are there in these institutes and how they can be advertised and recruited. So in most of the cases, we need to contact the chairperson or head of the department and write to them about your interest along with sending your CVs. And once you are in contact with them, then you follow the process thereafter. Already Professor Vasni told about NIRF ranking, and JNU is also there very close to what ISC is in the 17 and 18. It comes next to ISC. These different fellowship-based positions are there also, and this slide is going to just tell you that JNU encourages all the young researchers and scientists to talk to the faculty members and the chairperson of the schools and centers and find out a suitable post-lab for their interest. So we encourage and also support them. We are also there for early career faculties, and there are several faculty members who are working in JV in different schools and laboratories. We have also around 1,000 acre plus campus, and it is part of the surrounding hill. There are also wildlife, and if you walk in the morning or evening, you will be witnessing several varieties of birds and different species. If you talk about academic programs, we have 123 academic programs, UG level 10, PG 34, mostly it is research, and JNU is called as research university. We don't have BSc program in our university, mostly masters and PhD. We have currently around 900 students and 610 faculty members, our extension strength is 900. So we are in the process of filling the remaining positions. We also award almost 400 PhD degree almost every year. And JNU has recognized 19 institutions. Most of them are from UT or ICMR or CSIR. We also have 6 different institutes recognized by the university. Some publications and citations. Now, JNU is celebrating 50 years. So this is how it has evolved, starting from one school which was the School of International Studies in 1969 when the university was opened by Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Now we have 13 schools and several special centers. In terms of science, we have life sciences, biotechnology, physical science, environmental sciences, computer and system sciences, computational and integrative sciences, Center for Molecular Medicine and Nanosciences. Recently, JNU has also opened a School of Engineering, Management and Entrepreneurship, and another one is for e-learning. So a lot of emphasis is being given there. We have adequate facility to support our resources as well as faculty members. This we have already gone through, so I will skip this one. This is another area on which JNU is very strong in terms of having collaborations. We have 200 plus MOUs and MOAs overseas, and 179 MOAs are active, and currently we are having exchange for the students as well as faculty members. Also, we are working on with ICMR, IUC and DRDO. In some cases, it has been already finalized to see how their scientists can collaborate with the JNU. For innovation, there are several policies now in the last 3 years JNU had taken up, and now we are looking for the next 50 years. 150 years we have already completed, but now we are trying to make the foundation for the next 50 years and trying to do everything what will happen in our capacity. So in this area also we have done some work, and we are just moving forward. This Federal Innovation Center from NITI Aayog was sanctioned by NITI Aayog to JNU, and now we are in the process of establishing this. We have some special interest group. This is just for the example how we go about writing some group proposals or team proposals, and also we have trans-disciplinary research clusters involving various schools and centers. Some of the research which I have mentioned here, development of single cell derived clonal steroids as tool for drug discovery. This is going on in cancerology area. GMR sensing coupled low class product, point of care, microfluidic device. There are some faculty members who have worked on these areas. Some vaccine development and also some bioengineered nanomaterials which some faculty members are working. This is just one example of how we collaborate. This is related to our big data generation analysis and integration involving different schools to tackle or solve giving big problem rather than just asking a simple, just answering a simple question. So all the school faculty members, they sit together, discuss, and come up with a good team to do the proposals. And this is the most important slide, I think, for the faculty selection. So Marcel just showed you how it happens in the government universities. So what we do in JNU, most of the points what Dr. Nandit Tiwari told, we don't have any hurdle like that. Only it's online applications, we don't entertain any offline or hard copy. So we don't have any hurdles what Dr. Dhananjay told. Our process is very smooth. It takes some time because we have to follow each and every step. And minimum it takes 3 months to get the interview done and have offer. So I would like to stop here and thank you all for listening.
Those people who are giving poster pitch for Group A, I would like to request them to assemble in a room on the other side, and we'll get organized. While we do that, we would like to take some time and have a panel discussion with the speakers who spoke in the first session and the second session, and we will have questions from the audience. Please raise your hand and we'll forward you the mic. And I request all the speakers to please join us with the audience.
Not about you as a person, any system related my request is all of you please attend all the talks. Tomorrow also there are many interesting talks. In fact, the best talks are being reserved for tomorrow afternoon session. And you will get answer to many of your questions in the talks itself when you start listening. Right? So tomorrow also you will have many sessions, so you don't need to worry about preempting your questions right away. Again, the whole point is to show you very different opportunities. There are details you can always discuss outside in the
We request the speakers from the first 2 sessions to please join us on the stage for the panel discussion. And for all of you who have questions, you can raise your hands and then we will bring from the audience the ones who want to ask questions. We'll bring the mic to you. First 2 sessions.
So my question is regarding related to A's, because most of the time we spend in PhD like 5 to 6 years, and after that we complete postdoc in 3 to 5 years. And for getting good publications, we spend around 3 to 5 years at postdoc research, and by that time we apply for the positions for assistant professor. Our age becomes like 34, 35. So, and when we appear in interviews, and then we are barred after 35. So, what's about the?
Yeah, we understood the, we have to give the reason. Why there is a restriction for age, and you really have a way of relaxing the age. I think you want to ask.
So at IIC, there is actually no restriction of the age. What we say, preferably. So if you compensate your extra years with the performance that you had, then that age doesn't matter. But if you have higher age, which is not commensurate with your performance, then of course it does matter.
Yeah, that's a short answer.
He has answered, very short answer, but that's true. So I said also there is no age limit. It's a misconception.
Go to the next question.
So next question.
Over there.
My question is more about like how open are universities in India to interdisciplinary work. Like for example, I'm an engineer, but if I want to do work in climate science, for example, like because I've done it in my PhD. So like how open is that in the environment?
Dr. ISC is what you said. How many positions do you have? 100 people
So in terms of interdisciplinary research and collaboration, most of the central universities now they are coming forward and they have a very good system. Just I showed you how it happens in JNU. So same situation is there with the Delhi University, Hyderabad University, Jamia. So now collaboration, everyone understands that this is the way to go forward. So there is no hurdle. You have to find out a suitable and complementary partner for your expertise so that whatever you propose, that will have some good meaning.
So again, to add to this, all IITs, ISRs, central universities, they have what are known as centers, other than the department. Departments are mostly for teaching purposes like physics, chemistry, math and biology. They all have centers. Center for climate studies, center for energy, center for this, center for that. So you can apply to any of them.
It is also related to interdisciplinary subjects. It is also related to interdisciplinary subjects. Point is that suppose someone has done up to their graduation in a PhD in physics or basic science, and then moved to some of the interdisciplinary science and want to be faculty in engineering or one of these topics. So then when they are applying, it's being said that you cannot teach because you do not have a
Okay, so we understood. This is the question which is being asked every year, that you have an MSc in some subject to be part of some department for teaching purposes. It is true. In the earlier days, it used to be that UGC itself has relaxed this. Almost no ISRs or IITs, central universities actually demand such MSc qualification to teach. Obviously, you should prove that you can teach basic courses, right? You may be coming from engineering and want to go to a physics department. Can you teach a basic physics course? You have to show that competence. So there is a reason why they want to do it. But if you show your competence and you can teach a good basic physics course, you can go to physics department.
Is there any, like, for instance, classroom teaching for their to prove that or something like during the interview process?
Yeah, they will discuss case by case.
Okay, it's case by case.
So my concern is about UGC, that all the central universities, they are considering only 5 research papers, and like maximum considering they are academic score, like 60% in BSc, then you will get such type of marks. So then, like, we are mainly engaged in research. So what is the, like, only 10 points in university, central university, and most of the vacancies are in university. Like institutes are like very rare and they don't offer that much position.
So actually for the recruitment at the early career level, at assistant professor level, the point system is there for mostly associate and professor level. And the number what they have given, this is very low. Earlier it used to be API, it used to be very high. But now it is very less. And I don't think if anyone is working in any area of specialization, that person is not going to achieve that minimum score. So that is not going to be a hurdle. The point what he raised that if you have done MSc in a particular subject, whether you can get recruited or shortlisted for another subject. So that UGC has relaxed. Now it has said that it has to be related areas. It's not that fixed. So it is physics related area. Biophysics will be also complicated.
I'm from a regional university called Vidyasagar University. So my question is to all the IITs and central universities is that do you have any collaboration, more of collaboration with the students, at least for internship, at least for faculty collaboration, at least for example, TARE recently been started, the teaching associateship. So it is considering the geographical proximity of the institution. So do you really consider that, and do you have any opportunity for the regional university to be catered in the institutions like IITs and central universities?
Domestic, of course, we have domestic as well as international. We have these collaborations. For example, domestic, you mentioned that TARE. For example, a faculty, this is to exploit the latent potential of a scientist, of a researcher. For some reason, he has to go to the remote location. But what the TARE scheme tells us, they bridge the sea. If you have a skill, of course, you come to the main labs, IITs and So the summer time actually that we can spend for doing better research in these universities and all. So the SCRB support for the HARE kind of programs there. And everybody knows that this SNBOS international, we have so many such programs like SNBOS Scholar Program, Purana Program. So the question is that what way you are having a collaborative relationship with the foreign faculty. If it is successful, of course, we are here to support you through different schemes. It is at the doctoral level, even we have full doctoral fellowship. We have with the 8 universities, what do you call it, MOU, just like the Stanford, CMU, etc. So we have a lot of programs, you can see the website.
The short answer is, there is a scheme for almost every level of undergraduate to postgraduate to PhD level for collaboration, for interaction and exchange.
Sir, can I just add in?
One second, there are many more times.
So adding into this.
Publications like in the internet.
This is what we should do. There's a whole lot of posters, poster pictures. What I'll do is we'll have the next panel session, we'll have all speakers there except Shashi. If any of you have specific questions for Shashi, let's just have 1 or 2 more and get the posters started, as your lunch will get delayed.
A couple of more questions.
I have 2 questions relating to writing grants. The first was whether we could, as we're considering moving back to India and applying for positions, whether you could apply for grants before you actually have a position. And the second was about the kinds of proposals that are funded. So, for example, I guess many of us are familiar with the US system where you write very focused proposals, what preliminary data and pretty much a gigantic work. When you submit a proposal, it's funding whether the government will support more kind of exploratory.
Sorry, yeah, we understood. I think I will.
May I please, sorry to interrupt, sorry to be the bad guy here. If you don't have Shashi specific questions, please hold them and ask them in the next session. We have 1 more panel session coming, we'll get all the speakers plus the next panel speakers, and we'll have a more relaxed discussion. And the question that you're asking is a very important question. Sharon here has promised to take down your questions in Dhananjay Tiwari style, make them available to Dhananjay and also put them on the web, and get you answers, more substantive answers that you can hold us to. Because the conversation here is rushed, we have a few minutes, we're going to miss lunch, and those guys are waiting to present their posters. Okay, and I don't want Shashi to escape without having seen 30 posters. So please, I'm sorry to, I apologize to people, I apologize to you, we will make up for this. Things have gone way fast, we have 1 hour over, and I'd like everybody here not to leave until the posters are ready.
Thank you so much, everyone. I think we are ready. Let's hear from those people who are presenting posters outside. This is also.
Please lock the doors. No one can leave. Lock the doors.
So also, so they will come and they will talk about exactly 60 seconds, and they will tell you why you should go to their posters which are outside. These are not only for you who are as participants here, these are only also for people who are interviewing those people. Alright, so we'll have 30 posters, 1 minute each. If you have a pen, if you want to go to a specific poster, please write down so that you can visit those posters during lunch. Right? So our first speaker is Pradeep. Pradeep, can we have you? Yes.
Thank you. So, my name is Pradeep Kanimala, a Greek intellectual entrepreneur, working on applications, computer applications for helping with disease prevention. So that's one of the things that I started on. We are launching this on October 1st on occasion of 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma in collaboration with Indian Red Cross Society as well as Darkly organization in India, prevention of thalassemia. It is very deadly in India right now. About 35 to 45 million people are facing this, and it's costing around 6,000 crores of rupees just for the blood transfusion for thalassemia babies today, and which is not economically viable for us. So there is a solution for prevention, and I know a lot of people here are working on research, doing a lot of research work on gene therapy and all those things. Of course, it's very expensive and futuristic solution, but I'm more focused on prevention is better than cure. So prevention is coming, and thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Climate change is one of the grandest challenges of today's world, and one way to tackle this problem is to develop efficient processes for converting lignocellulosic biomass such as agricultural residue, etc. To biofuels. Potentially, biofuels can help reduce greenhouse gas emissions by up to 86%. However, the biggest challenge right now is to break down biomass, which is a complex polymer of cellulose and hemicellulose and lignin, to sugars, and eventually to ferment them to biofuel like ethanol. In my work, I try to use solvents and catalysts to perform this work effectively. And by studying solvent effects on reaction kinetics and using reaction engineering tools, I'm trying to develop sustainable processes for getting sugars from biomass. Come see me at poster A2 for more details. Thank you.
How do ions travel from polar medium to a non-polar medium? And how do ions affect the interface between these two media? That's the question that I'm interested in. Here I show a application for this problem briefly. This is solid extraction, which is a crucial process in nuclear industry, nuclear waste management, rare earth separation and so on. So we have ions dissolved in water, which are transferred to the organic phase, and that's how the separation works. And the fundamentals behind this process are not at all clear. So that's exactly what we are focusing on. How do these ions, how do they affect the interface, and how do they structure the organic phase? I'm going to talk about synchrotron scattering methods and some spectroscopy methods which can address this issue. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sunil, currently a postdoc at the University of Minnesota. So basically I'm a material scientist with background in chemistry. However, my research lies at the interface of material science and biology. So these are few of the instances of my research. For example, I work with ultra-small gold nanoparticles and other 2D nanomaterials for antimicrobial applications, as well as calcium phosphate-based bioceramics. And then during my postdoc, I moved my focus more towards biopolymers. Essentially, I will work with electrospinning, electrospraying, and the problem of 2D materials and how we can transform them into 3 dimensions by breaking them first and then making them into 3D structures like nanofiber microspheres here, which can be used as cell microcarriers and also as nanofiber-based aerogel sponges, and which can be incorporated with bone therapeutic factors for regeneration of bone and also for the maxillary bone regeneration of these factors.
Good afternoon. So for gas separation applications through adsorption, such as carbon capture, adsorption isotherms are indispensable for a process design. Unfortunately, co-adsorption measurements are not very easier thing to do. So for that purpose, simulations are necessary. The current simulation methodology uses parameterized potentials and which are not accurate for non-covalent interactions responsible in such systems. So in this work, we developed a simulation methodology where we combine accurate ab initio calculations and harness the power of coarse-grained lattice gas models to simulate co-adsorption. we achieved a very good agreement with experiment for pure gas simulations, and we expect the same for coadsorption. So with that, I'll be happy to discuss more in my poster. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I work on the breast cancer. As we know, the breast cancer has been classified into 5 different subtypes, and like my objective is to study the contribution of cell of origin, because the cell of origin of the breast cancer subtype is not known yet, and the inter-individual variability in primacy of the breast cancer and the cancer-specific genomic coverage in genetic of specific subtypes of the breast cancer, the metastatic pattern and therapeutic response of the breast cancer. So our hypothesis is to study the tumor heterogeneity to be a product of the interaction between the cell of origin and the driver mutation. So I generated the cell lines from the omen of healthy breast from the different ancestry group like African American, Hispanic, and Caucasian, and I classified based on the bioprotein signature into different subtypes of the normal breast cell lines, and then I used some of the oncogenes to transform these subtypes, and I achieved my the objectives, and as you can see here, the normal and basal linear subtypes had the different kind of phenotype characteristics when we transform in the same oncogene. Thank you.
Your name and poster number?
What's your poster number?
My poster number is A7 and my name is J. Kumar. Thank you.
Please say your name and poster number while you are presenting.
So you should find the poster number somewhere on the slide, but still.
Hello everyone. I'm Vikas with the postdoc from Jennifer Fifth Lab, WashU, Cyprus. Today I would like to give an introduction of how Mycobacteria tuberculosis staph effectors differentially impact the Ascot response against the cabbage. MTB is the intracellular pathogen, is lived inside the phagosome. MTB secretes ESX1 effectors which damage the phagosome. The question is, host response against this damage? Yes, it is well known. Host response against this damage, it activates this cytosolic sensor, type 1 response, inflammation, xenophagy, and many more. But what is not known, does the host have any mechanism to repair this damage? There is a paper come in a Science last year, 2018, in Hansen Finance group. They have shown how Ascot machinery promote to the repair when any damage is there. When the damage is small, it promotes the repair. Then we ask the question, does Ascot respond to the bacterial induced damage as MTB is an intracellular pathogen to create the damage? To know the answer of this question, please visit my poster. My poster number is A8 session 1. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Indira Bag, working as a postdoc at NIH. I work on 3D chromatin organizations of the genome, which is essential for precise control of gene expression. So this chromatin insulator plays very important role in higher order chromatin structure. Basically, chromatin insulators are DNA protein complex and which form independent DNA domain structured by formations of the looping, and it is known as topological associated domain. So these insulated proteins either can block enhancer-promoter interactions or can promote enhancer-promoter interactions, basically according to how they are present on the chromatin. And they also can regulate the tissue-specific function. So, and any defect in these chromatin organizations can lead to many diseases. And so recently, these chromatin organizations, how it is regulated by insulator is still unknown. So my present work is to identify novel regulator of this insulator protein and how they are playing role in this chromatin organization. So I identified a novel protein M1BP which targets in Drosophila CP19 in the promoter and regulates higher order chromatin structure. My poster number is A9. Please visit to my poster. I'll be happy to discuss with you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My postdoc work at NIH is based on understanding the role of G-protein coupled receptor in the development of obesity and type 2 diabetes. GPCRs are expressed in a number of metabolic issues and are important drug targets for the treatment of type 2 diabetes. Today my poster will focus on understanding the role of P2Y6 purinol receptor, which is activated by circulating UBP levels and is coupled to G2 protein. To this end, we generated 2 mouse models. We made specific knockout of P2Y6 receptor in adipose tissue and skeletal muscle and did metabolic tests to understand its role in metabolism. As you can see here, knockout of P2Y6 receptor improved metabolism when we knockout of P2Y6 receptor in adipose tissue improved metabolism, whereas knockout of the receptor in skeletal muscle impaired the metabolism. To know more about the research, please stop by my poster A10 and my name is Sanjay. Thank you.
Good afternoon. As you well know, America is suffering from opioid crisis, and with more than 130 Americans dying every day from opioid overdose, there is an urgent need for novel therapeutic interventions for opioid-mediated pain management. In my postdoc research, I use computational structural biology tools to study broad range of proteins, including the opioid receptor, GPCR, which is the target of opioid analgesics such as morphine and methadone. These ligands activate the receptor, which then mediate downstream responses via G protein and beta arrestins. Now, in an attempt to develop improved opioid drugs, attention has recently shifted to G protein biased agonists of the receptor. Using enhanced molecular dynamic simulations along with state-of-the-art analysis methods, we provide insights into the dynamic and kinetic elements of bias signaling in opioid receptors using receptor bound to 3 ligands of varied pharmacology. The results are expected to advance the discovery of novel opioids with improved therapeutic profile. To know more about my current research and my future interests, please come to my poster A11. My name is Abhijit Kapoor.
Hello everyone. So what happens when you do some strenuous physical activity like exercise for a long time? You get exhausted, right? Similarly, when cells are stimulated repeatedly, they show an exhausted phenotype. And that's what a chronic infectious disease does to our immune system. Hello everyone, my name is Abhijit Ambegalkar, and I am studying memory B lymphocytes of the immune system, specifically in the context of infectious immune diseases. And I am looking at a subpopulation called atypical memory B cells, which are found in malaria, HIV, and other infectious diseases. And they do show exhausted phenotype, they show a limited effector function, and they have been claimed to be responsible for the inefficient acquisition of immunity towards these diseases. But what we have shown is that these cells can be simulated under certain conditions and are not exhausted. So to know more about these atypical memory B cells, how they are formed and their function, please visit my poster A12. I'm also working on understanding the role of antigen affinity in the differentiation of memory B cells into plasma cells. So I'll see you at the poster. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ali. So our lab works on something known as Lynch syndrome. Lynch syndrome is a cascade predisposition syndrome caused by defective DNA mismatch pair. Now, the clinical positive diagnosis of Lynch syndrome depends solely on finding inactivating mutations in the mismatch pair pathway. There are 4 genes that regulate mismatch pair pathway, and upon DNA sequencing, it often returns a large number of variants of uncertain significance. So the question now becomes, how do we determine the impact of a certain GWAS on mismatch pair function? So that's the problem we went to tackle in our lab by modeling Lynch syndrome associated variants using CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing. in human embryonic stem cells and then carrying out a number of functional assays that can tell us if the VOS is behaving like a polymorphism or a pathogenic variant. So if you want to know more about my project or what fun gene targeting is, come have a chat with me at poster number 813. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So as you all know, finding a way to generate clean and sustainable energy is very crucial. And in nature, green plant and other organisms already do convert solar energy to chemical energy by doing photosynthesis, where carbon dioxide and water is being used, using light to produce carbohydrates, which can be directly used for plant respiration. So taking inspiration from photosynthesis, we designed a cell, we call it dye-sensitized photoelectrosynthesis cell, where on one side, there will be two electrodes. On one side will be doing photo-driven light water oxidation, and the produced proton and electron will be transferred to the other electrode, which is a photocathode, where we convert carbon dioxide to fuel. But there are thermodynamic and kinetic requirements to have a system for the whole process to have high efficiency. So keeping those in mind, we designed and synthesized molecules, dyes and catalysts for both sides of the photoelectrodes, and we showed that it can drive the water oxidation, light-driven water oxidation, as well as that it will put on the batch. So to know more, please visit my poster number 15, and my name is Krishna. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I am Anup Mazumdar, an immunobiologist from University of California, Los Angeles. I am studying system immunology there, and in the future, as an internal scientist, I am very much excited to explore the role of bystander macrophage in disease progression. In the site of infection, there could be some cells that are affected by the infection but not infected per se. So these are called bystander macrophage, and my hypothesis is that this bystander macrophage has a very important role in innate immunity, and that has been explored properly. So using cutting-edge transcriptome analysis and some novel yet very simple biochemical technique, I want to explore more about this bystander macrophage. And if you are interested to learn more about this, please come to see my poster. My poster number is A16. Thank you.
I'm going to start with a green fact that by 2050, the deaths from antimicrobial resistant bacterial pathogen diseases will kill more people than cancer if we don't take any action right now. So I'm trying to be friends with the enemies of our enemies, which are these viruses that exclusively kill bacteria. And I'm using RNA-seq, proteomics, and transposome-seq analysis to see how we can use these bacteriophages or these viruses to kill these antimicrobial resistant bacteria. My name is Anushila. My poster number is A17. Please come and talk to me if you're interested. Thank you.
Hello everyone. We vertebrates produce antibodies which are almost tailor-made for every pathogen we encounter. But did you know that one of the key elements that trigger antibody diversity in vertebrates evolved from bacterial toxins? Or did you know that bacterial plasmids have contributed to the aspects of eukaryotic DNA repair? I'm Arun Krishnan from Dr. L. Erwin's lab at NCBA. I'm a computational biologist with a PhD from Uppsala University, Sweden. Researchers are well aware that large-scale lateral gene flow have contributed to the endosymbiotic origin of eukaryotes. But several of these unique eukaryotic systems whose origins remains enigmatic and pose one of the most intriguing and challenging aspects for evolutionary biologists to resolve. Please visit poster number A18 to know more about two dramatic examples of lateral transfers from bacteria that contributed to the evolution of vertebrate immunity, DNA repair, or to the biology of kinetoplastics. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone. Something happened and there's no slide for my poster. The good thing is that it lends an air of mystery to what my work is. And if you want to discuss how we can identify gene regulatory networks from single cell data using concepts from economics and finance, come talk to me and we can meet me at my poster, which is A19. My name is Atul Deshpande.
You didn't change the slide.
Well, there is no slide because it was missing. It's missing, so. Thank you. A19.
Hello. For an animal which is foraging in the wild, the ability to quickly identify a nutritious food source and acquire it is very important. In the brain, structures like basal ganglia and superior colliculus help us to do that. But the human mechanism behind that is not clear. So to understand that, I trained non-human primates to associate fractal objects with larger and smaller volume of juice liquids. And while the monkey, after training this, and while the monkey is performing a simple eye movement task, I record neurons from a deep-seated eye movement-related structure called superior colliculus, and the responses from those neurons tell me give me some idea about the neural mechanisms behind the decision-making process. For starters, the cells in SC actually differentially code for the value of objects. To learn more about this, please visit my poster at 820. My name is Atul Gopal. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Bhavna Tiwari, a postdoc at UNI Southwest Medical Center. I have been studying the tumor suppressive role of P53. So P53 is the most commonly mutated gene in human cancer. It's a transcription factor, and under different stress conditions such as DNA damage, oncogene activation, it gets activated and it regulates its downstream effectors such as apoptosis, cell cycle arrest, and senescence to specify cellular adaptive processes. And it was long believed in the field that we understand how does P53 does its job. Until recently, a big shock came to the field that these canonical factors are dispensable for the tumor suppressive mechanisms of P53. My postdoctoral work led to the discovery of a novel role of P53 that it represses retroelements. In my poster, I will be talking about how P53 represses retroelements, and can this be tumor suppressive mechanisms of P53? Does retroelement cause oncogenesis in humans? So please come to my poster. My poster number is 821. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Biraj Mahathur and I am from UNT Health Science Center, Texas. Millions of people are affected by retinal degeneration, and that is the prime cause of blindness, and no effective treatments are available. And regenerative cell therapy is an exciting treatment option, and direct chemical reprogramming is an efficient method to obtain retinal cells. So retina is a trilayer neural tissue present in the back of the eye that transfers light from eye to the brain. And this is like glaucoma, like age-related macular degeneration. This layer has been degenerated. So what we do, we try to replace this layer. So we started with fibroblast cells, like skin cells, and then convert them to retinal cells by small molecules. And then when you inject these cells into the blind mice, we found that these cells can restore vision. So my poster number is 822. This is my poster. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Shian Banerjee, and I'm working with Project Kumar at the Village Program. So I mainly work on super resolution microscope, or it's called single molecule microscope. So we try to understand the cell signaling process by using this technique. So we do this for a payload to track the protein of interest with photoswitchable fluorescent protein, and then we can monitor their dynamics in single molecular level. So in this work, I will mainly present one of the process called autophagy. So if you are interested in the superresolution technique or the autophagy or the cellular signaling pathway, please come to visit my poster. It's A23.
and by training I'm a chemist and I'm working in the physics department. So if you want to know more how chemists and physicists exposing towards the biology, please come to visit my poster A23. Thank you.
So I would like to share some of our recent results on T-cell mechanobiology. So basically T-cells are important to generate adaptive immunity within our body. So they can directly kill the foreign antigens of different disorders, diseases like cancer, viral infection, etc. So it has been recently reported that the force has an important role within this T-cell activation. Basically this T-cell contains mechanosensor machinery. So, and interestingly, our optical trap-based microscope system allows us single-cell measurement with force. And these are the triggering and the non-triggering events of a Jarkar T-cell. And an optically trapped bead was used to present the PMHC to a Jarkar T-cell. And in both cases, shear force has been applied. We have found triggering in case of specific peptide, and which is in panel A, and panel B is the non-triggering in case of non-specific peptide. So it indicates that the summary is that the T-cell only can recognize the specific peptide, although a lot of non-specific peptide is present within our body. So my question number is 824.
Hello, good afternoon everyone. I'm Ravi. I'm working on prostate cancer. So prostate cancer is the most common non-skin cancer and the second leading cause of cancer-related deaths for male in the United States. And it is the greatest source of cancer-related mortality in males of African ancestry. And I'm working on a particular disease. This is known as PD-1. It is a long-handling RD. It is located in the chromosome 1824. And PD-1 doesn't form the functional protein, but it forms several automatically spliced transcripts. So in my postdoctoral study, I am trying to find out the role of PD-1 in prostate cancer, because already there are multiple reports where people have found the role of PD-1 in different types of cancer. So in advanced tissue sample analysis, and they have found that it is significantly overexpressed in prostate cancer tissue in comparison to normal tissue, and it is also having role in cell cycle regulation, and we did animal work. There also we have found that it can induce tumor. So if you are interested in my work, please come and visit my poster. It's 825. Thank you.
Respected delegates and all, my name is Giriraj Sahu. My major research interests are to study the molecular mechanisms that control neuronal excitability patterns. Here, with the use of super-resolution microscopy and bench clamp mechanism, I figured out a multi-protein complex of ion channels localized at ERPM junction sites, which controls the firing frequency and number of action potential generation in hippocampal pyramidal neurons. Further experimental evidences highlighted the importance of active spectrum cytoskeletal elements in specially organization of different ion channels at different sites in the plasma membrane, by which the membrane depolarization is transmitted in a coordinated manner. My future research interests are to study the mechanisms that alter in excitability of neuronal firing patterns in neurobiological disease conditions like epilepsy, Fragile X syndrome, and in ischemic stroke condition. Please visit my poster number 26, sorry, answer is 21, it is 826, so that I can describe it more. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I am Bhishma Thirukuraman. I am a biomedical engineer primarily focusing on tissue engineering and artificial extracellular matrices. During my graduate studies, I have developed electroconductive biomaterial substrates integrated with electric field stimulation to guide stem cell differentiation to neurogenic and cardiomyogenic DNA. And at At my previous postdoctoral stint, I have developed 3D engineered bone model that is highly vascularized and innovative. And also part of my study involves understanding how prostate cancer cells metastasis towards this 3D bone model. And currently at the University of Minnesota, I have been working towards understanding how cells sense and interpret underlying matrix alignment, which has broad implications in cardiac morphogenesis as well as in cancer metastasis. To know more about my work, please feel free to stop by my poster number 827. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Hardeep Kaur, and during my postdoctoral work, I really focus on how the cells maintain the genomic integrity. And there are different ways to repair the double-strand breaks, and one way is by homologous recombination. During homologous recombination, the double-strand breaks are repaired to form two kinds of products. One is non-crossover, where there is no exchange of chromatic sequences, or the crossovers, where the chromatic sequences are exchanged. So, however, there is a very good regulation in terms of how the products are formed. For example, during meiosis, the formation of non-crossover product is equal to the crossover products, while in mitosis, the non-crossover products are far more larger in number as compared to crossover products. So during my postdoctoral work, we established that the evolutionary conserved complex of SGS1, TOP3 and RMI1, it is essential as well as important in the regulation of crossovers and non-crossovers, both during meiosis and mitosis. And in future, I would like to continue my research focusing on how the cells maintain the genomic integrity, and I want to little bit shift from the STL complex, and I would like to understand the genomic integrity in context to the physiological situations. For example, the double-strand breaks are formed in response to the heat shock, which are experienced by our skin cells, as well as by osmotic shock experienced by kidney cells. So I wanted to understand the double-strand break repair under these conditions. And I also wanted to understand how the DNA damage response and aging processes are interlinked, and how we can regulate aging if we can dissect the DNA damage response during aging. Thank you so much.
Everyone, myself Vinit Tripathi, and I work on role of lysophosphatidylated autotypes in cardiac inflammation. LPA is a biolipid which is formed from LPC, which is very evident in our red blood diet, and it is get converted from enzyme named as autotaxin from LPC to LPA, and autotaxin is present in all the adipose tissue. So LPA role is very evident in cancer, but nothing much is known in cardiovascular diseases. So after the heart attack, what happens, there is a series of adverse events, and uncontrolled inflammation can lead to the adverse cardiac remodeling and could lead to the cardiac function loss and further heart failure. So we see that there is a role of LPA in accelerating the inflammation. So if you are interested to know the role of autotaxin LPA signaling in cardiac MI, so come to my poster 821. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm the last one. So the big question is, how do bacteria keep their proteome error-free? One way they can achieve this by stopping immature ribosomes from going into translation. So these immature ribosomes are generally error-prone and inefficient. But the challenge is bacteria do not have membrane compartments as found in eukaryotes to stop immature ribosomes, but allow mature ribosome to go into translation. So what I found that an assembly factor called RBFA binds with immature ribosomes and directly prevents their premature entry into translation. However, when ribosome is mature, RBFA is surprisingly released by initiation factor 3 to initiate translation. And this transition marks as end of ribosome biogenesis and beginning of translation. For more details, please visit my poster at 30. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone. Before we break for lunch, I have one small announcement. Definitely you are not meeting back here at 2:30. We are going to take some more time. But then those people who are interested in knowing more about Aiza Kolkata's recruitment process and talk to Dr. Pal, please assemble in this room for a minute. We'll put down your names and we'll try to find a slot so that you can talk one-to-one with Dr. Pal after this lunch. Thank you.